where does the excavation of giants come in play here? Are we talking about in Kentucky or what?
Yeah. So there's a place called Indian Fort Mountain, and it was a site. They've dated it to Adena, Hopewell, and what they call the Fort Ancient Society, but it's actually probably a lot older than that. And it's right on this path called the Warrior's Path. And this path goes from like Florida through Tennessee, through Kentucky, all the way up to the Great Lakes, where they would mine copper. So Indian Fort Mountain, when you're standing on top of it, it's called the Pinnacles. There's a great big stone sacrificial altar like you would see at a Mayan temple or an Aztec temple where they used to perform sacrifices. It was fortified. They built walls to keep people from accessing the summit. And if you're on the summit...
Who's they? The people of the past or people today have...
The past.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe other warring tribes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're on there, on top, and you look out to the southwest, there's a mountain, a knob called Pilot Knob, and it looks like, I think I showed you a picture, a natural pyramid. Mm-hmm. It's like, and they used it as such, and they built these earthworks all around this area for their houses and ceremonial buildings and stuff. And I discovered these earthworks. They're previously unknown. But there was an excavation done I worked on with University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Berea College. And we excavated Indian Fort Mountain and found a burial of an 8-foot tall chief shaman, maybe, with had a hammered copper skull cap and 3 pieces of hammered copper like breastplates. And I've got slides of those. But yeah, so this guy was 8 feet tall, and I don't know. That's just it. I mean,
what do you think about that? Because I mean, we hear people uncovering giant bones of the past here in this country, and then bones go disappearing, go missing, they disappear. People say the Smithsonian is covering things up. There's a guy who regretfully I wasn't able to get in the studio next time he's in town, but he was a guest for episode 17, I believe, Jason. And I believe he's the one who told me that when he was a kid, his grandfather would told him that when his grandfather was a kid, here in Tennessee, they were digging up these giant bones.
Yeah.
And it's like, supposedly it's not true. It's not real.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here telling me you were part of a dig where you dug up an 8-foot tall skeleton.
It's real. And Squire and Davis did a survey of most of the burial mounds in the Ohio Valley, I think for Thomas Jefferson. And it's really a thorough survey, archaeological survey. But they list many, many large burials, 8 foot or more. And there's so many. I mean, you know about all the news reports over the years. 8-foot skeleton found in burial mound. The skull was so large it could fit over a man's head. That type of thing. Rows of double teeth, 6 digits on fingers and toes.
Did you have any of that on this skeleton?
No, it was just big. I mean, that probably could have. Yeah, I'm sure the skull would have, fit over like a helmet. Mm-hmm. But of course, we didn't try that.
Wow.
But yeah, it's real. And a lot of them were taken by the Smithsonian, and
Do you think they destroy it or they hide it?
I think they hide it.
Why? If you're going to hide it, why not destroy it so you don't have to worry about hiding it?
But there are cases of them destroying stuff too. there's they would just dump lots of bones in rivers, just to get rid of them. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So theoretically, the bones are still around somewhere, or do you think does the water destroy the bones over time?
It takes a long time, because when I was treasure diving on that 1622 wreck in Florida, that Spanish galleon, I found bones from those sailors.
Really?
Yeah. Actually brought back to Kentucky and had a burial.
Really?
Yeah.
You buried the bones you found on the wreck in Kentucky?
Yeah, on my farm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I just felt like that was no place for eternal rest.
Wow.
Maybe a nice place under a tree with a view.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So this giant skeleton you uncovered, do you have pictures of that?
I've got some slides.
What do you mean by slides? Like PowerPoint presentation slides, or
no, like actual slides?
Really?
Yeah, because it was 1980 was when this excavation took
really
place. Yeah. So, and
so how old were you when this happened?
High school.
You were in high school?
Yeah, I volunteered because.
So were you working at KU in high school?
No, this was before.
So this was before KU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before UK.
Or
yeah.
KU. Yeah.
Yeah.
UK.
It was Berea College and University of Chapel Hill in North Carolina. But the Berea College, the guy that was in charge was my guitar player's dad, and he was an archaeologist who had spent time in the Middle East and all over. And he kind of became my mentor. He's the one that really got me really involved in it. And before he passed away, he gave me his file on that area where I am. Big, thick file. He said, "You're the only person I know that's interested in this kind of stuff." So,
you still have it?
Yeah.
What kind of information's in there?
Oh, man, so much information. Everything about that Indian Fort Mountain and a lot of the burial mounds in the area. Like it gives locations and things that were found and excavations. And
was your giant the only giant found?
Probably not. A lot of those mounds around there haven't been excavated.
Still?
Yeah.
What are they waiting for? Just is it one of those things where it's academics that has to be justified? They have to justify it through academics, or is it funding, or is it respect for the mound itself and the burial, or what?
No, a lot of it is they're on private property. Some of them, and sometimes the property owner doesn't want that. A lot of times they built their house on top of these mounds.
No wonder why it's haunted.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. There have been excavations though where giant bones have been found, but not so much in my area because the funding isn't really there. And most of those excavations took were years and years and years ago. I don't really know of anybody that's doing any work in burial mounds now.
Are you against it?
I'm not. I've explored quite a few, and I think responsible archaeology is cool.
Yeah. You learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people that are like anti digging the burial mounds up and stuff, and I go back and forth on a lot of different things. I'm not emotionally attached to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're saying you dug one up, I'm sure there's people listening. They're like, "How could he?"
Right, yeah.
I'm like, whatever. That's cool, man. You found a giant bone. Like, that's cool. Let's talk about that.
It was all done respectful and ethically,
properly.
Yeah. There's protocols and rules, and we follow those. But I mean, if we hadn't done it, nobody would have known. And they'd still be. I think that their whole I think that site is way older than Adena and, Adena culture. I think it's way older.
What's Adena culture?
They were the indigenous culture that lived what they call the archaic period, which would be like 6,000, 7,000 years ago.